Yeah, well, Merab is such a hard guy to beat, but he doesn't have a lot of wins by finish. He's a decision guy. I think he's on like an 8-fight win streak right now, and I believe he's got like 16 or 17 victories, but 11 of them I think have come by way of judges' decision.
Yeah.
So, and one thing we know about Petr Yan is he's a lights out striker who comes on late in the fight. Now, Aljo, what's interesting to me as far as this fight goes are the odds. Petr Yan's a 2.5 to 1 favorite. I feel like it should be a little bit closer than that. I almost would have, if you didn't show me the odds and just said, what do you think the odds makers have Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan at? I would have said this is probably a pick'em fight. Maybe Peter's just a slight, like maybe a minus 150 favorite and Merab's like a plus 105. Just a very slight underdog, but it's actually a bigger gap than I would have expected. Now, it's and I think people are factoring in exactly what you said, which is that Merab probably will win the first 2 rounds, especially given the fact that Aljo was able to take Petr down and hold him down and kind of have his way with him. I think Merab, in certain ways, I don't think he's as good of a submission artist as Aljo is, but I think he's a better wrestler than Aljo is. So I think that he will get his takedowns on Petr and probably will be able to hold him for long enough in the first 2 rounds to win those rounds. But come late round 3, if he hasn't finished him, which I don't think he will, Petr Yan's going to come on with those kicks. He's going to have downloaded the data. He's going to be sweaty. Merab is going to be sweaty. He's going to be able to defend those takedowns a little bit better. And then if you are a takedown specialist, because Merab's a decent striker, but that's not what he's known for by any stretch of the imagination. So if you're a wrestler who is now in a situation where you can't take down a lights out striker, it can be a very long 2.5 rounds for you. So I'm going to pick Petr Yan to win this fight. I just am a little bit surprised by the odds. That's all.
Yeah, I think they've got it right in some regards, but I think Merab Dvalishvili, if you like to gamble on fights, this is a good one because there's some good money to be made for him, and he's Aljamain's #1 training partner. If there's anybody that knows how to beat Petr Yan, it's Aljamain. And Aljo is always in the training room with Merab. He's always helping him, and he felt him. He knows exactly where Peter's best at. Now, nobody's as good of a human backpack as Aljamain Sterling, but Merab's very good at controlling the fight up against the cage and even bringing you down a few times in the round to score those takedowns, maintain control, and stay just busy enough to not get stood up or separated. So I think Merab, man, he's real good, and if he can gash you out, if you try like hell to get up time and time again in the first 3 rounds, you're going to be exhausted for the late rounds, and that might slow Petr down enough to where Merab doesn't have to worry as much about his striking later in the fight. And Peter's great with kicks, but everybody knows if you kick at a wrestler anything above the waist, the chances of getting caught and even letting them, they'll even eat one just to catch it, are pretty high, and they like to get a hold of your leg any way possible. So if you're willing to give it to them, they like that even more. So I think this is a very interesting fight. I think this is going to have a lot of like #1 contender type of vibes to it, and the best man's going to get their hand raised, but I'm not completely sold yet that Petr Yan should be the big favorite in this, and I'm also not completely sold that Merab Dvalishvili is going to have his way with them in the early parts. That's just what I'm assuming right now. So I see this fight probably going the distance, and I think it's going to be a split decision type of thing where one judge might have 3 rounds for Yan, one might have it for Merab, and then we just sort of see what the other one says. But I think this is going to be a very competitive match, and I think after seeing both of them train this past week, you're going to get a very, very high level of MMA.
Yeah, this is the highest level, and bantamweight is just so good. I mean, it's the best division in the sport right now, most exciting, deepest division in my opinion,
most skilled.
Yeah, and to have these 2 guys going in there on a fight night on the heels of a pay-per-view card and then following up the week after another pay-per-view card, March feels like Christmas for us MMA fans. Mm-hmm. And speaking.